Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Duckstories. It's Telenor's platform that celebrates entrepreneurial and professional failure. We have a very special guest with us today, Areej Khan. She's the Chief People Officer of Telenor Pakistan and has a great journey at Telenor and even before. So let's hear her life story and her failure stories. So welcome to Duckstories, Areej. It's a pleasure to have you here. I'm really excited to have this conversation with you.
Thank you for having me. I have been a cheerleader of Duckstories from the sidelines. And I'm so glad that you convinced me to be in front of you here today. It really is an honor.
So you've been with Telenor for quite some time now, and you've had a long, inspiring journey at Telenor. But before we get there, I just want to understand a bit more about your early life. So what was it like? What was the environment like? Can you share a bit about that?
Sure. So I'm a very private person. So this is going to take a little out of me. So bear with me. I'll start from the very beginning. I'm the youngest of 4 daughters. No brothers. And that, essentially meant that there were never any discussions on leaving the best meat portion for the son or prioritizing the son's education over the daughters. So I grew up in an environment where, the world was my oyster and I could achieve whatever I set my eyes on. My dad is a retired army officer. He's from the early days, the first few batches of the army. He's mashallah 96. He was and still is probably my biggest supporter and the first feminist that I actually ever encountered. It was his encouragement, his motivation that really propelled me forward. It gave me a lot of confidence. Then I had a female role model in the shape of my mother. She was a nurturing mother before anything and a successful politician later. She's quite the iron lady in the house, and I really do look up to her. My sisters are, high achievers in their own respective fields, but I've learned a lot of resilience from them because I've seen them sort of pave the way for me. Made it a little more easier for me to, take certain decisions, take their guidance. And then I have a very supportive husband who has stayed up late at night with me when I was struggling, when I had, these big presentations or major decisions that needed to be taken in my professional career. So I've been blessed, really, to have had a very good, sound support system. Yeah. And why I share this with you is because, they say it takes an entire village to bring up a child. I think it takes an entire ecosystem for a woman to become successful.
Absolutely.
And I really have been blessed.
So your first, I understand your early life was very supportive and you went through your, usually your education and then your job. I want to know more about your career life now and how did you start? So what was your first job or internship like and what did you learn over there?
So you'd be surprised, Cynia, my first job was at the age of 14.
Oh, wow. I never knew that.
Yeah. Hold on, I'll give you some more details. So I remember coming back from school and my father had retired and he had started his own thing. And he would encourage that I spend time with him. And I had a JD. So I spent like 2 hours with him in the office. And my JD was basically to, type his letters. We had this really nifty typewriter at that time. I had to make sure that the letter was sort of properly indented or letterhead pe wo ek blank hota tha jahan pe date dalni honi chahiye thi. And, I had to make sure that everything was perfect. And then I would use a fax mail and send those letters to potential clients. And then after that, I was required to file these letters as well. And I loved it, really. I loved doing that for my father. I loved spending time with him. I loved observing him. And while I was doing that, Cynia, I think there was this really quick realization. When I saw my father, a lot of times when you send these emails to potential clients, sometimes the responses doesn't come, right? Sometimes they do. But that exposure to that sort of aspect of corporate life made me quickly realize that you can't romanticize achievement, but rather appreciate the grind behind it. And that early wisdom, I think, has really shaped who I am as a professional now. I appreciate the hard work behind the successes.
Yeah.
A lot more.
So that's wonderful. And I love that your dad was at that very age able to teach you those lessons, because at age 14, I remember usually children are out in the playgrounds or, with their friends.
I had my fun as well. But then it was nice. It taught me responsibility. It taught me structure. It made me more organized. It made me realize that success doesn't come just one day. You need to put in a lot of effort in it.
So after your education, when did you decide, what sort of career did you want to step into? How did you get into your first role or first job or internship?
My first professional job was Telenor. And that was about 20 years ago. I did some odd jobs while I was in the university. I remember I was at a call center at my university's alumni center. And we used to call these alumni and ask them to pledge and donate for different projects that the university had undertaken. And I also remember I was an assistant to a paralegal at a law firm at Wall Street. So extremely fancy. But this was while I was studying. So this was to get some extra cash on the side. But my real job was Telenor. And I remember joining in, and this success that sometimes people see, it doesn't happen by chance.
But at that age in university, what sort of career path did you think you would take? Or did you imagine yourself being in a corporate life? Or was it just, serendipity? You wanted to just go with that flow that life took you?
You'd be surprised. I wasn't very ambitious at the beginning. But I did want to show up. I wanted to give my best. And that's something that I learned from my father, right? Give it all that you have. I remember, I was in corporate communications as I joined. I'm what you call a ranker. I joined from right at the bottom and then made my way up. And it was launch time. Telenor was launching in all the rural areas, and that gave me the opportunity to travel the breadth and the width of Pakistan, starting from Azad Kashmir all the way to Quetta, Multan, and Hyderabad, and you name it. Every place, every small little city. We were launching, and I was always the one who used to raise her hand. I wanted to be there. By the virtue of my job description and my will and my ability to take risks and challenges, I remember we used to travel in a group, stayed in some of the most not very fancy guest houses, stopped at these small little dhabas by the roadside to have food. I was the first, probably in most of these little towns, you didn't see a lot of women out in the market, right? So when I was going out to the market visits, I used to ensure that, I was properly clad, making sure that I wasn't hurting any sentiments. But all this time, I was excited with what lay in front of me. And I tried to ensure that I gave it my best. By the virtue of, sort of doing a good job, I didn't realize that I was actually breaking stereotypes.
Yeah.
And when you start doing that, the organization notices. And then they start investing in your sort of development as well.
Absolutely.
And that's what happened.
Yeah.
Well, piece by piece, projects started landing in my lap, and I tried to make the best of them.
No, that's wonderful. And if you don't mind me asking, what was your first role at Telenor?
I was in corporate communications. So I was supposed to look after the external corporate comms. So dealing with journalists, press conferences, writing press releases, So that's one of the reasons why.
Energy packed role, right?
Yes. and yeah, 24/7 as well.
Yeah.
Because a request can come in for a statement any time of the day.
So in your journey in these 20 years in Telenor, you've basically done corporate communication, you've handled business functions, digital as well, I remember. And now you're the chief people officer, so people leadership. What has been in this entire 20 years, what has been that biggest dip in I wouldn't call it dip, but just a very big setback that you went through? Because of course the theme is failures. We want to talk about what went wrong. How did you overcome it? What was the story there? So if you could share maybe one story, a couple of stories.
अभी मैंने आपको बहुत ही खूबसूरत सी एक story बताई है, of going up the career ladder. And not a lot of people, especially when you sort of, open the LinkedIn profile, you look at people who've accomplished a lot and you're like, wow, that's amazing. And they make it seem so easy, right? But what that profile doesn't tell you is the backstory. Yeah. And that is where real life happens, Cynia. That's where the grind is happening. That's where the dips take place, right? The failures happen. And don't get me wrong, I'm in no denial that I've been extremely, lucky. I've had excellent opportunities. Every time that I got promoted, I was usually the youngest in the room, or I was the only female in the big boys club. So there is a realization that, my career has definitely accelerated. But having said that, not a lot of people know that there have been a lot of curveballs, a lot of missed balls. And I'm so thankful for them. The promotions that I've missed, the projects that I perhaps could not deliver as best as I could, the international trainings that I had to let go of because I had a sick child at home. And when people hear or see that, they think that those are setbacks. But honestly, I think they were the ones that were actually preparing me for something better, for a better opportunity, so that I could really utilize it when it came my way.
So you were leading very big portfolios, and then you were landed the HR function, right? That's a big mindset shift, coming from a function that's making money and just making revenue and running the business to now running the people. What was that mindset shift like for you? And why did you say yes to HR?
So I remember this clearly. This was about 3 years ago, and I was vice president digital, and I was riding high on the success. You were there. We had just recently turned, in a year and a half actually, turned a negative EBITDA margin business into 56% positive growth, right? I had a great team. We were all energized, motivated, excited. We were doing new things, spreading our wings, innovating. It was a great time. And I had also just recently launched Pakistan's first esports platform. So riding pretty high on success at that particular time. And then I remember Fansab coming, my then boss, CEO of Telenor Pakistan. And he said, Areej, what's next? I said, yeah, this is great. I'm loving what I'm doing. And then he goes, well, there's this, opportunity that I want you to evaluate. It is the chief people officer position. I think you would do really well. And this was around the time when Telenor Group had announced that they were going to be exiting the Pakistani market. I froze, and the thing that was going on in my head was, this is either going to be a complete professional suicide, or it's going to be a heck of a ride. Yeah. Obviously, I chose the latter, and no regrets. I mean, look at what we've achieved. It has been quite remarkable. Only recently we've received the best of the best places to work award. people ask me, why did you do it then? And I tell them, बड़ा आसान होता है एक्सेल में खेलना. उसमें बहुत सारे formulas of success होते हैं. आप OPEX में थोड़े से पैसे डाल दे, revenue उधर increase हो सकता है. I might be making it sound very simple, but it is slightly more easier.
It's a bit controlled.
Right? It is more controlled, right? Yeah. But जो इंसान है ना, it's the most unpredictable. Managing people, making everybody happy is probably the biggest challenge I've ever had to come across.
And it says a lot about your leadership as well. Irfan Sab came to you with the opportunity and you took that challenge head on. So you knew that it would be, given the situation, obviously, you had all the data to make that decision and yet you chose the challenge. So it says a lot about you and your leadership as well.
Yeah, it says a lot about the people as well, I think what we've achieved at Telenor is remarkable. And it has a lot to do with the type of people we have, extremely resilient, talented individuals that have really risen to the occasion.
So you've led through digital transformation, now cultural change as well, organizational changes within the organization these past 2-3 years while you were Chief People Officer. So what does people first leadership mean to you in practice? And can you give any example as well?
So first and foremost, I think you need to be authentic. You need to be genuine. People can see through you. They're very smart. You can't fake it. So I think you genuinely want to invest in people. Servant leadership is critical. And I think in people first, for me, is not only having the right strategy, the right leadership, but the right focus on people. And I'm going to bring back to, what we've done at Telenor Pakistan. We've focused on all these three things. But we've ensured that all our decisions are centered around what is good for our people. And when you do that, people are receptive to it. It can simply boil down to the simplest of things. How you welcome newcomers, right? How seamless you're able to integrate them in your culture. How vested you are in their learning and development. Yeah, because when they see that, it's a natural thing to want to give back. How much are you proactively listening to their valid concerns, their asks, even grievances? And in the end, also being very cautious that you're respectful when you're bidding farewell as well.
Yeah.
So all in all, I think people first is ensuring that all your decisions are centered around your people.
Yeah.
And then eventually the business will thrive.
Yeah. So Areej, how do you stay grounded during uncertain times, for example, mergers and transformations within the organization? How do you as a leader stay grounded and ensure that you also help others navigate that uncertainty?
So the person that I am, Cynia, I think, transformation has become sort of like a baseline for me. And considering that change is the only constant, you either evolve with it or you become a victim to it. And because, the victim mentality is not something that I subscribe to, I wanted to embrace change. I do embrace change and find the silver lining in everything. That is who I am as a person. And that's sort of helped me navigate this very uncertain times. As far as how you motivate other people, whenever I meet people, team members, जब भी हम लोगों की town calls होती हैं या catch-ups होते हैं, तो मैं एक चीज़ कहती हूँ. देखिए, in life, there are only two variables. एक is the controllable. The other one is the uncontrollable, right? And in times of uncertainty, अगर आप वो uncontrollables के ऊपर focus करना शुरू कर देना, तो it is a vicious spiral downwards. Anxiety kicks in, and it's like hitting your head against the wall. That's as far as you will go. So in times of uncertainty, in times of change, it is extremely important that you focus on what you control. You focus on your growth. You focus on delivery, par excellence, so that, whenever the time comes, you are the one that is the talent that is recognized. And I think that resonates with people.
You've spoken a lot about being the corporate leader, but also a lot about motherhood in your conversations. So I want to know, how do you balance the two? What's the dual relationship like? Of course, it's difficult, I can imagine, because you're also, the stakes are very high sometimes. And as you said, you missed a training opportunity internationally because your child was sick. So what is that experience like? Any learnings that you can share with us?
There's this phrase that gets thrown around a lot, work-life balance ka lafz bahut log istemal karte hain. I don't believe in it. Take for example, a person, an individual, a man, trying to ride two boats at the same time. The laws of physics are going to be against him. He's going to lose his balance and he's going to drop to the water. Or is tarah ke notions jo hai na, they stretch our employees too thin. This concept of this perception of perfection, it doesn't exist, nor should it. Especially for women. Women are constantly on double duty. And then if you add that aspect, that she can juggle everything so perfectly well, she's a superwoman, you're setting her up for failure, right? So I think that the success lies in us women understanding very quickly that sometimes you can't have it all. There will be days when you will not be a present mother because there is a deadline that you need to meet.
Yeah.
And on other days, you will not be on top of your game because the child was sick the previous night. And that is okay. So success is not chasing perfection. It is actually showing up consistently, no matter the odds.
And that's beautiful, because I can understand that there's a certain guilt. I always see it with my colleagues and everyone, especially the mothers, that there's a certain guilt associated with choosing a career over their child sometimes, What advice would you give to women out there who have this fear of going towards or approaching a corporate career versus settling down with family? Because I see this conundrum, right? I see this a lot happening within our office space as well. So how would you go about it?
First and foremost, it's very important to acknowledge that the fear is real.
Yeah.
Jo Pakistani khawateen hai na, they have so many expectations from the household, from their families, from the society at large. And then when they come to, the office, expectations from the workplace, already बहुत सारी expectations. और उसके अंदर फिर आप एक leadership का भी element अगर डाल दें, तो then वो थोड़ी सी confusion हो जाती है कि यार, which identity am I sort of pursuing right now, right? And I don't think there needs to be a trade-off. I'll be very honest, right? You just need to be smart. You need to have a plan. And for me, there are three things. First and foremost, build a strong support system. It's essential. It's not a luxury. It's a strategy. Yeah? Family, friends, caregivers that you pay for. There's no problem in asking for help. No shame in it. Go ahead and do it. Number 2, set boundaries without guilt. Your time and your effort is a scarce resource. Ensure that you manage these resources efficiently so that you are most effective. Third, and I think this is the most important one for me, invest in yourself. Invest in your knowledge, in your education, in your skill set, and invest in your financial independence.
Yeah.
knowledge is the most important. It gives you a lot of confidence and it opens up a lot of other choices for you.
So, Areej, you talk about authenticity, and I love that. I think everyone needs to come up with authenticity with social media, with everything going on. I do feel like people really do need to show up as they are. But of course, that comes with a lot of vulnerability. So can you share a moment where you had to be very, very vulnerable and, you didn't have it all figured out, and just, what happened? What was that story?
Okay. You want me to bare my soul, huh? Acha. So this happened, right when COVID hit. I had just come back from my maternity leave and I was given a new portfolio to manage. It was a portfolio that I hadn't looked after before. It was a promotion. So I had a lot of things riding on this. I had to be successful because the organization had taken a bet on me. I was good at it because I had studied for it, but I hadn't practiced it, right? So the task at hand was daunting, to say the least. And I remember the first few weeks were quite a wreck. I was a train wreck, to be honest. Imposter syndrome sort of creeped in. I was questioning whether or not I was meant for this, whether or not I was ready for this. So many questions. And I was a complete mess. But after a couple of weeks, I said, hold on, Areej, this cannot carry on. You cannot function like this anymore. So I did two things. One, I sort of sat myself down. मैंने अपने आप से बात की. And I told myself, look, you need to own this. You've worked really hard to get here. And now that you're here, prove to all the naysayers that you deserve this. Start acting it. So थोड़ा सा मैंने अपने आप को झंझोड़ा, So that's the first thing that I did. The second thing was an interesting one. And till this day, when I think about it, I was like, wow, it really did take a lot out of me. So since this was a new portfolio, I remember picking up the phone and calling this old colleague of mine who was a couple of years junior to me, but he was really good at what he did, right? So I called him and I remember he picked up the phone and he said, congratulations and, Mubarak Baddi. And I was like, yes, thank you very much. And then I said, can you teach me?
Oh, wow.
And there was complete silence on the other end. Because he was completely taken aback. I think he was a little more uncomfortable than I was. But it took a lot out of me to actually say that. And then what transpired afterwards was a schedule that was quite rigorous. I used to wake up early, take care of the baby, get in front of the screen because it was COVID, 8:30 for our revenue stand-ups. I would do briefings and workshops during the day, meetings, left, right, and center, back to back. I would take small little breaks in the middle to take care of Wali, my newborn, and then wrap up around 5:30ish, put him to bed for the night, and then at 6 o'clock, me and my colleague would stay up till 10 every day. And he would teach me. He would train me. And I am so appreciative of what he did for me. Because what transpired after that was a phase in my life where I completely came in my own. It gave me that strength, that confidence that I needed. So if there's anything that I would want these people to take out of this is, invest in yourselves. It's important.
I know, I understand it was a moment of vulnerability for you because everyone's expected a leader to know it all.
Yeah.
And I understand that this was your moment where you actually wanted to maybe unlearn a few things and relearn some things. So yeah. I absolutely love that. Reinventing yourself is also one of the...
And that's also a part of being a good leader, I think.
Yeah.
You don't always have the answers. And it's okay sometimes.
So what does leadership look like for you in Pakistan? How do you see that? Especially work is changing. Gen Z is stepping into the workspace as well, or has stepped into the workspace actually. And a lot of things are changing with remote working, flexibility. A lot of things are changing. So I just want to understand what do you think about this shift and how do you foresee it?
जो नई generation है ना, that is going to change the type of leadership that is coming, by the way. And I see that happening around me as well. I think there are going to be 4 shifts, some that are actually even happening right now. Today's leader has to be emotionally intelligent. Empathy before anything. Yeah, it's extremely important that you show up for your people. So that's one. The second one is, because there's this sort of digital revolution that is happening, tech fluency has become essential. So you don't need to be an expert in it, but the know-how of it is crucial. You know, knowing AI, fintech, knowledge of that actually attracts these youngsters because they're so tech savvy. So they want their leaders to also be people that nudge them towards innovation, right? So that's the second one. The third one is hybrid way of work. वो टाइम चला गया, you know, आप आते थे सीधा 9 बजे और काम करके और फिर 6 बजे आप जाया करते थे. No, they want to have the opportunity to be present at home, and also be very productive at work, right? So it's a lot more to do with performance than presence. So that's my third ask from the new leaders, and I think they are definitely showing up that way as well. And last but not the least, I think it's purposeful leadership. And I talked about that before as well. Gen Z youngsters want to work that has meaning for them. Yeah, something that creates impact, where they feel that their work that they're producing will be sustainable, will have a positive impact on the society around them. And leaders who are able to speak to purpose are able to attract better talent, and talent which stays on for longer.
Thank you so much, Areej. Are there any parting words, any word of advice for, the audience? We have a mix of them. We have corporate professionals who listen in. We have startups, entrepreneurs. So any last words that you would like to give to the audience?
एक ही चीज़ कहूँगी, honestly. मैंने realize किया है कि जब आप एक corporate world में होते हैं, आप at least 70% of your time you're actually spending here, right? So that's quite a lot of time, half your life, right? More than half your life. तो जो लोग हैं ना, they forget the KPIs, the goals, कि हाँ उस बॉस ने ये गोल कहा था और ये मैंने exceed किया था या ये meet expectation था. Nobody remembers all of that. जो लोगों को याद रहता है ना सानिया, वो होता है how you have made them feel, how you have invested in their growth, whether or not you have made them feel valuable. वो चीज़ें याद रहती हैं. So be a better person, be a leader who motivates, engages, invests in their people. There's something the most beautiful about servant leadership. खुद ही को sort of equation से निकाल देता है. And then when you start working for other people, magic happens.
Thank you so much, Areej. Thank you for being here on this platform today, for sharing your story and all these lessons that you have shared. I'm definitely taking them home with me. So thank you. And I hope our audiences as well. Thank you for being here.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you.